Hi, I'm Steve.
I'm Aaron.
And this is
Summer Computer.
And we are here.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Steven.
And welcome to State of the Art.
The only place to get our opinions.
Yeah, everybody wants to hear our opinions.
Of course.
But welcome back. This week's topic.
Can you stop hitting the table?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's our topic. We're going to scold Aaron
for hitting the table. That's what I'm talking about for the next hour. So strap in. But for real. Our topic this week, we're shifting to video games. We're talking about open world video games and their current state, and comparing them past, future, present.
Yeah. I think that's it. Okay, thank you guys for sticking around. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. I'm Aaron. I'm Steven.
Plays out. But I think a perfect place to start is, let's start with a company who's known for their open world games, which is Rockstar.
Yup, obviously with the popular series GTF.
I think you got that wrong.
No, Grand Theft Ferries. You steal ferries.
You steal ferries.
Yeah, and you drive around the streets of San Andreas.
No, but really, it's Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple other ones I can't think of. I think it's just those two, right?
I think Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, Hitman.
No, Bully. That's the other one.
Bully, yeah.
But that one hasn't gotten a recent release in years. So.
10 years? It's going on 15 now? Jeez.
Yeah, so we don't really talk
count
about
that.
But yeah, I think Rockstar really got it down. I was watching a video from, I think him, Nakey Jakey.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave this beautiful speech about how Rockstar really brings together what an open world game should be.
Feel like, yep.
Yeah, especially with the people around you, how they react maybe to the certain acts that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just sometimes it does have to do with the story, but one thing that Rockstar really does is it really pay attention to detail of the world around you. That's the first place that they start.
Yeah, that's the first thing that you should do in any open world game is make the world feel like not only that it's lived in, but that it's real. Like the things in that world, despite the obviously super ridiculous things, but that things in that world can happen in real life. And GTA has always been at the forefront of open world games when it comes to making people feel like they're in a real world.
Yeah.
Unless you want, mod the crap out of it and then make oceans and stuff, cover the entirety of San Andreas in a giant sea and then sail around.
But
for the most part, it's pretty real.
Yeah. From the regular, the original product, I think they got it definitely down. I know for me, even though Grand Theft Auto 5 is beautiful in its presentation and story, I think for me, especially being a person that lives in New York, seeing Grand Theft Auto 4 seeing their fledged out recreation of the city, now Liberty City.
Yeah.
It's amazing about what they were being able to accomplish in 2007.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So think about it now. You think back on it and you just think to create a game where you feel like it's so accurate to a depiction of what real life is. My favorite part about open world games is always that feeling, open world games are fun. You get to do a lot of chaotic stuff, but sometimes I find myself just doing the strangest things. Have you ever in GTA or any open world game, you just get in a car and when you're driving around, you try to obey
the speed limit
or just drive in normal traffic. It's kind of difficult.
Because
the cars are made to automatically go faster.
Exactly. The whole what's it called? The vision of what the game creators wanted is that you don't have to obey. Yeah, but I kind of wish that there was some kind of maybe a mode or an achievement that you could get if you do
if
obey.
You drive around normal. I do in Saints Row. I do it in GTA. It's a lot of fun for a while, and then you just I want to go back to being chaotic, but you don't use fast travel or you just I drive to the airport and actually get in the plane and fly around. it makes you feel like the world's lived in, even though most people would they look at that and be like, why don't you just go and do that in real life? Well, because there's a lot of things you can't do in real
Because
life.
you need
that
a
could do.
license.
Yeah, you need a
and-
license. You can't just you can't
need
just
a
drive up
certain
to an
age.
airport and get in a plane and be like, yeah, I feel like going flying today. I don't need any regulations or anything. But
Mhm.
that's the best part about open world games to me, is that you could feel like the world that you're in is real and lived in, and you're having like these experiences that normally you couldn't have in your day-to-day life. And you look at the world around you and it's incredibly beautiful, especially whenever you go really high up in the sky. That's one of my favorite
Oh.
parts, like looking over the whole landscape.
And definitely, especially one really cool thing, like I was talking about earlier, especially with Rockstar, is their attention to detail. Say you're flying a plane,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you're in like the city, and like you go to like a tall skyscraper,
Right.
and you could actually see the clouds like below you,
Yeah.
like start to form. Like thinking about like
When a
realistically,
plane actually goes high up enough,
or
that
if you
eventually
get
can't
high
see,
enough,
yeah.
like all that kind of stuff is just like super detailed.
Now, if only you could go into space. No,
Yeah.
you could go pretty high up, and it makes you feel like the other thing with open world games is that when they become super ambitious in terms of, I think, a great example is probably like, The Crew, when they had the whole cross country going across America.
Well,
style
we're
deal.
not going over to
right,
Ubisoft
right,
yet.
not
but
yet.
Actually, no, this is actually a perfect spot. So you're talking about The Crew and how you could go cross country. Yes,
Yeah.
and they actually did a really cool thing with that, where
You stop
could
in certain cities.
you stop at certain cities, but it actually takes the same amount of time, which I think is kind of cool to get
Yeah.
from one part of the country to the other.
Yeah. It's for some people it can be a little bit much sometimes because you're playing a video game, but I find it kind of cool. You're going on a cross country trip and things like that, and it really gives you appreciation for the amount of work that they put into making such a massive world. There's so much to explore. There's so much to do, and it makes you think like, if they were ever to make one where I know like it's really ambitious, like you go over the sea and everything and go and see other places. Like I've never seen an open world game used for educational purposes, but imagine using one to go and visit certain places in the world. Like you to visit famous places and
Place-
feel like
Yeah.
it's a real place.
I mean, even talking about that, one thing with the new Spider-Man game that came out,
Mhm.
they went from like, look at Rockstar, what they did in 2007, and now what Insomniac did with the new Spider-Man game in 2018.
Oh my gosh.
They didn't do all of New York City. 'cause
Yeah,
I
the
feel
Brooklyn
like
Bridge is a little bit wonky, but for the most part, when you're looking at New York City from Spider-Man's perspective, really high up on Empire State Building, or even the new tower,
that Freedom Tower.
the Freedom Towers.
Yeah.
You get this Freedom Tower. You get this idea that they really did their research about every single street, every single nook and cranny of the city, and the landscape looks almost identical to that of regular Manhattan or New York City.
But then also talking about that, one big problem that a lot of companies have with doing these open world games is they try to be too ambitious with like all these flashy colors, but
Mhm.
then they forget about the game part.
yeah.
Because especially with Spider-Man, and even looking at a lot of Ubisoft games such as like Watch Dogs and even The Crew, is that
Right.
there's not a lot to do, whether they just put just random side quests in there that are very repetitive.
Yeah, the game ends up getting repetitive as you get far deeper into it, because there's only they focus so much on building the world that the game part comes afterwards, and that makes it difficult for people to enjoy the game long term.
Yeah.
I know that happened to me with Saints Row. After you finish everything, there's nothing else to do. You
Mhm.
just find yourself running around doing most of the same stuff, doing ridiculous stuff. It makes you feel like, man, if only there was more to do. But then figuring out like what more to do would cause them to do things like DLC, where they're constantly
Yeah.
like, I know GTA does it. GTA 5 does it, where they constantly add DLC for new things, like new weapons, new vehicles, races, events, stuff like
Yeah.
that, which is cool.
Exactly. Yeah. GTA Online is still going.
Yeah,
Going
it's
strong, which is-
After-
It's crazy.
crazy.
It
It's been-
came along from like 2014.
Yeah, it's been a solid 4 years, and that game still has really good support. But I think even with that, the aspect of DLC, people kind of see it negatively because it's like, why do I have to keep paying to play the game? But
exactly.
there's only but so much you can really do with the open world game in terms of content, because you got the story. And then you have everything else. The story can entail a lot of really fun stuff. Like, I know Spider-Man's story is really amazing.
Yeah.
I remember Saints Row story having a lot of like really wacky, fun stuff. GTA 5 story is great.
Yeah.
All the different missions that they send you on, everything. And then
And especially with GTA 5, you're not stuck to one protagonist. You could switch to three on the
different
fly.
protagonists. Yeah, anytime you choose. And it really opens up the options. Like it keeps you playing for a long time. But even so, just like any other game, you sink enough time into it, and eventually you're gonna finish it. So what I think the real enjoyment that people find in open world games, like I know I do, is I restart. I end up like I instead of going through the whole process of just sitting there forever having like my one good save file, I'll restart the game. If I really enjoyed it that much, restarting it and playing through it again and experiencing everything again, even some things that if you played it long enough, you might have forgotten. Yeah, experiencing it's a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun, especially when you're like not invincible.
Yeah.
Essentially, like as you get to the end of the game, you have all the money in the world and you're super invincible. You got a bunch of crazy weapons. You start off from square one. You're like, how did I die to that?
And you're just
that's
like, oh
right.
wait, I'm level 1.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna complete our discussion.
Yep, we're gonna move on to talk about even more open world games. So stick around.
Stick around.